and we move from the sexually deviant to the even more sexually deviant. Moving from Pittsburgh to Oklahoma, it seems as though there's a not-so-young woman who's doing some not-so-smart things. The link reads, "Woman makes it into booking at local jail with loaded gun crammed inside her vagina, meth stuffed inside asshole." Amazing. Yes, it is. We click on the link. We see it takes us to News Channel 4 of Oklahoma City. Warning, content could be considered graphic. Ada, Oklahoma. An unusual and graphic case in Pontotoc County leads police to a bizarre find inside a female suspect. It began at a Dairy Lou drive-in in Ada. The business sign states the place is known as Home of the Hercules, but early Monday morning, police in Ada made an unusual find in the parking lot. 2 women kicked back in a car. One had a warrant out for her arrest. A drug dog let officers know the other woman needed to be searched. Police took Jennifer Delancey and Christine Harris into custody. On the way there, one of them tells the officer she has another hypodermic needle in her shoe, and they removed that, Pontotoc County District Attorney Chris Ross says. The other one said she had to go to the bathroom. She repeats it. Officers soon found out why she had to go so badly. During book-in, a female officer noticed something strange during the search. The officer observed the handle of a revolver sticking out from inside her body, Ross said. Court records state it was a wooden and metal item sticking out from her vagina area. It was a 5-shot, Ross said. It was loaded, and as she turned around, she noticed more plastic baggies, larger plastic baggies, wedged in the crack of her buttocks. Those baggies contained meth and were removed along with the gun. It would seem to be a very dangerous place to carry a loaded firearm, Ross said. If it goes off, it's only going one place. Both women have long criminal records. No shit. Yeah, so basically this bitch crams a gun in her pussy and stuffs a couple large bags of meth in her asshole. So, winner, winner, chicken dinner, most eligible bachelorette. I think that's who the award goes to. And from the most eligible bachelorette in America, we travel all the way to San Diego, California, where James O'Keefe is being forced to pay $100,000 to a former Acorn worker. No shit. That's right. Check the headlines at planetfuckyou.com. You'll see this story. James O'Keefe to pay Acorn worker $100,000. We click on the link and it takes us to the Los Angeles Slimes, that liberal rag. We've got a picture of our boy right here on front. The headline reads, "Conservative activist pays $100,000 to former Acorn worker." Now my question out there is, does anyone remember James O'Keefe? Project Veritas, the dude who goes around exposing all this corruption and ridiculousness in the government. Yes, he is a right-winger in the sense of like a George Bush supporter, American conservative inside that little paradigm right-winger, but still he's made some really funny shit. We read on. San Diego. James O'Keefe, the conservative activist whose hidden camera stings have been aimed at liberal targets, has agreed to pay $100,000 to settle a lawsuit filed by a former employee of the group Acorn, according to documents filed Thursday in federal court here. As part of the settlement, O'Keefe says he regrets any pain suffered by Juan Carlos Vera, who was interviewed by O'Keefe and an associate in Acorn's office in National City near the U.S.-Mexico border on August 18, 2009. The video, aired repeatedly on television, appears to show that Vera was willing to help O'Keefe smuggle underage girls into the U.S. to act as prostitutes. O'Keefe and his associate, Hannah Giles, had gone to the Acorn office without an invitation. So you need an invitation. In the settlement, O'Keefe says that before the video was shown on TV or posted on the web, he was unaware of Vera's assertion that he had called the police to report O'Keefe and Giles for proposing an illegal act. Vera's lawsuit was filed by Eugene Iredale, one of San Diego's top criminal defense and civil rights attorneys. The lawsuit was filed on the assertion that O'Keefe broke a state law prohibiting the surreptitious recording of someone's voice and image. So get that. Get that. So they're going to bust him on a minimal law that's for, recording or someone's voice or image surreptitiously. But no word as to whether or not what he was doing was exposing absolute fucking corruption, which of course it was. O'Keefe's attorney, Michael Madigan, from a Los Angeles firm, called the $100,000 payment a nuisance settlement and said that O'Keefe has a full career ahead as a talented investigative journalist. No shit. O'Keefe's actions in the National City incident and in similar videos elsewhere were celebrated by some commentators for allegedly showing the hypocrisy of Acorn and the left-leaning political bias at NPR, where O'Keefe masqueraded as a Muslim political operative seeking agreement that Tea Party supporters are racist and xenophobic. These motherfuckers, allegedly. They did agree that Tea Party supporters are racist and xenophobic. They had a big conversation about it. It's a beautiful fucking conversation. ProjectVeritas.org. Go check it out. Fucking hilarious. Well, we're sorry to our boy James O'Keefe. It's a real bummer. But hey, at least it was pocket change, according to his lawyer, right? Moving back to planetfuckyou.com, it appears we've got some good news. It looks like Whole Foods has decided to say fuck GMOs. No shit. Man, I'm going to have to check Whole Foods out. We click on the link and it takes us to My Fox DC. Fresh off the AP wire out of New York. Whole Foods. Products will carry GMO labeling. Whole Foods says all products in its North American stores that contain genetically modified ingredients will be labeled as such by 2018. The company says it's the first national grocery chain to set such a deadline for labeling foods that contain genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. A spokesman for the supermarket operator and organics said organic foods will not have to carry the labels since they do not contain genetically modified ingredients by definition. Although Whole Foods is known as an organic grocer, it also sells a wide array of non-organic products. The use of GMOs has been a growing issue in recent years, with health advocates pushing for mandatory labeling, even though the federal government and many scientists say the ingredients are safe. Newsflash, assholes. That's exactly why they need to be labeled. Because you think these motherfuckers got your best interest in mind or your health or something? No, I don't think so. Reading on. The science behind genetically modified organisms is not new. Biotech scientists say that genetic manipulation is a way to reduce disease and enrich plants, raising productivity and increasing the global food supply. According to the National Academies of Sciences, genetically modified corn, cotton, and soybeans account for more than 4/5 of those crops grown in the U.S. No wonder why the autism rate is fucking 1 in 100. No wonder why everyone's so fucking fat and full of cancer. Has anyone thought about these? Yes, a few people have, but goddamn, does anyone not see the correlation between those two? It is the correlation between those two. It is just too ridiculous to ignore. In a statement, the Biotechnology Industry Organization, which represents Monsanto and DuPont, those fucking epicenters of evil, and other makers of genetically modified seeds, said that it supports the voluntary labeling for people who seek out such products. But since the FDA says there's no difference between foods that have been improved with biotechnology and their organic counterparts, the group says mandatory labeling would only mislead or confuse consumers. Fuck you, FDA. Whole Foods is nevertheless seeing growing demand for products that don't use GMOs. Products that get a non-GMO verification label see sales spikes between 15 and 30%, said A.C. Gallo, Whole Foods president. 15 and 30%. Pretty significant, I would say. Yeah, pretty significant. Products that don't use any GMOs are more expensive, given the tighter supplies of such ingredients. But he said he hoped the announcement would open up the market for more non-GMO crops. Whole Foods, based in Austin, Texas, word to Alex Jones, also has 7 stores in the UK where those bloody Brits don't want to feed their kids this garbage. Labeling's already required for foods that contain GMO products in the UK. Gaio said there aren't many products there that have GMO ingredients as a result. Well, no fucking shit. Crossing the pond, as the limeys say, back over here to America, and planetfuckyou.com. We see the next headline. ACLU, these swine and their military tactics are out of control. Well, is this telling us something we already know? Oh, yes, it kind of is. You know that when the ACLU has concerns over military weapons used by local police and their military tactics and the basic militarization of police, that it's already reached epidemic proportions, hasn't it? Yes, it has. We read on. St. Louis. The ACLU wants to know what kind of military weaponry and tactics are being turned over to local police by the Department of Defense and Homeland Security. The ACLU feels the surplus equipment, things like flashbang grenades, shock cuffs, and tracking devices that are being handed down, are leading to more aggressive policing, especially in poor neighborhoods and neighborhoods of color. John Klashinoff with the ACLU of Eastern Missouri describes an incident that happened in Michigan. A SWAT team threw flashbang grenades into a house. Then, when the SWAT team rushed in, they got confused and ended up killing a young girl who was sleeping on a couch. I'm sure no one was held responsible either. The ACLU has made a public records request for information from major city police departments, including across the U.S., including St. Louis City, St. Louis County. They also want to find out what kind of equipment's being turned over to the Missouri National Guard. We do know that in 2011, $500 million of surplus military equipment went to police departments. We have concerns that the lines between the two, police and military, are starting to blur. He argues the trend is eroding civil liberties, and of course he's absolutely right. But it's amazing. Amazing that anyone even notices. Amazing anyone's voice even rises in opposition in this country, isn't it? This country full of fucking swine. And they're swine-loving statists. They're swine-loving soccer moms who worship their military and worship their police, would bow at their feet and do anything they fucking ask. Huh. Enough of that rant. Let's move back to Planet Fuck You, where we can encounter the last headline we're going to discuss today. We see a picture of Dianne Feinstein, that bitch. The headline link reads, "Mindless garbage-ass whore Dianne Feinstein attacks veterans with wildly bullshit claims." Wow, there's even a video. Turns out all she was doing was just speaking her mind. The link takes us to realclearpolitics.com, where we see this. Feinstein. Veterans may have PSD and should not be exempt from assault weapons ban. At a Senate Judiciary Committee meeting on Thursday, Senator Dianne Feinstein opposed an amendment to her assault weapons ban legislation that would allow military veterans to continue to buy firearms that would be banned. Feinstein says a veteran may be mentally ill and should be prevented from purchasing firearms. So, these military personnel that all of these assholes in the Senate, in Congress, all over the government, everywhere, down to your local fucking church and sheriff, are all worshiping and paying homage to constantly, might be mentally ill just because they served and should therefore be denied weapons. What do you think her real rationale is behind that? Do you think this fucking cunt is scared, maybe? Scared of someone who's not scared of her? A couple of choice quotes from this bitch. The problem with expanding this is that, with the advent of PTSD, which I think is a new phenomenon as a product of the Iraq War, it's not clear how the seller or transfer of a firearm covered by this bill would verify that an individual was a member or a veteran, and that there was no impairment of that individual with respect to having a weapon like this. Yes, chew that one over. This bitch just claimed that PTSD is a product of the Iraq War. Now, that is pretty fucking ridiculous. Coming from a fucking whore like this, who's never seen combat, who obviously doesn't understand anything about combat. She's going to claim that the Iraq War brought on PTSD. No doubt 30 million people gobbled that up the minute she said it and believed every word, and took it no differently from Moses on Mount Sinai, as pure gospel. No doubt in my mind, it might even be 50 million of these fucking sheep out here. Who is to really say? The last link worthy of mention actually takes us to The Blaze. The Blaze, for anyone who doesn't know, is Glenn Beck's garbage-ass site. And while I would never, ever promote anything Glenn Beck says or does, this little article he's got on Dianne Feinstein captures another quote from her absolutely ridiculous fucking rationale, where she argues that it would be legal to hunt humans. That it is legal to hunt humans. Quoting from her, "The time has come, America, to step up and ban these weapons. The other very important part of this bill is to ban large-capacity ammunition feeding devices, those that hold more than 10 rounds. We have federal regulations and state laws that prohibit hunting ducks with more than 3 rounds, and yet it's legal to hunt humans with 15-round, 30-round, even 150-round magazines. Limiting magazine capacity is critical because it is when a criminal, a drug dealer, a deranged individual has to pause to change magazines and reload that the police or brave bystanders have the opportunity to take that individual down. Oh, man.